The last bread. Once upon a time, there was a girl called Amina. Amina woke up before the sun as she always did. The cold of the early morning wrapped around her thin body as she sat up on the mat. The small mud house was quiet except for the weak breathing of her younger brother Sadiq, who slept beside her. His ribs showed clearly under his skin, rising and falling like fragile sticks. Amina watched him for a long moment. "You must wake up today," she whispered. "You must leave." Most days there was no food for them to eat. She stood up slowly and walked to the corner of the room where their food was kept. The clay pot was light, too light. Inside it lay one small piece of dry bread. Amina closed her eyes and opened them again in surprise. Yesterday, they had nothing to eat. The day before, they had only water and hope, she thought. Hunger was no longer a stranger, it lived inside them, biting gently and constantly. She wrapped the bread in a clean cloth and tied it tightly. That was for Sadiq, she thought to herself. A girl who became a mother, Amina was only 16 years old, but life had forced her to grow faster than her age. Their mother had died first. Fever took her during a long rainy season. When medicine was too expensive, their father followed a year later, crushed by grief and sickness. After that, the world became cold and careless. Relatives came at first, bringing promises instead of food. Then they stopped coming. People said life is hard for everyone. So Amina stopped asking. She learned to fetch water for others, to wash their clothes until her fingers cracked, to work in farms under the hot sun for small coins. Some days she was paid, some days she was sent away. Still, she never complained in front of Sadiq. That morning, Amina left the house quietly so she would not wake him. She walked from compound to compound, greeting people politely. "Please, is there any work I can do today?" Some people shook their heads, some looked away, some said, "Come back tomorrow." By midday, her legs felt heavy. The sun burned her skin and her mouth felt dried like sand. She sat under a tree and untied the cloth in her pocket. The bread stared back at her. Her stomach growled loudly. "One bite," she whispered, "just one." But then she remembered Sadiq coughing at night. She remembered how he smiled after eating, even when the food was small. Amina tied the cloth again and stood up. On her way home, she heard a sound that made her stop. Not the cry of a child, but of someone tired and broken. She followed the sound and found an old woman lying by the road. Her clothes were dusty, her face pale, her lips cracked. "I am hungry," the woman whispered. "I have not eaten for 2 days." Amina's heart pounded. She touched her pocket. "This bread is all we have." Her hands shook as she knelt beside the woman. The woman's eyes reminded her of her mother's eyes on her last day, full of fear, full of hope. Slowly, painfully, Amina took out the bread. She broke it into two. She gave the bigger half to the old woman. "Eat," Amina said softly. The woman ate while tears fell down her cheeks. "May God reward your heart," she said weakly. Amina walked away with nothing but tears. Each step home felt heavier than the last. How will I tell Sadiq? She thought. When she reached the house, Sadiq was sitting up, waiting. Sister, he said, did you find work? Amina forced a smile. Not today. Sadiq looked at her face for a long moment. Then he reached under his mat and brought out a small bowl. I saved this soup for you, he said. A neighbor gave me some. Amina could not speak. She cried quietly as they shared the soup. That night, hunger slept beside them. The next morning, there was a knock at the door. Amina opened it slowly. The old woman stood there, clean, strong, and smiling. Behind her were two men carrying baskets filled with bread, rice, oil, and beans. You gave me food when you had nothing, the woman said. I am the owner of a bakery in the next town. I fell sick on the road. The woman continued, and you took care of me, even without knowing who I was. Even though you are poor and you have a sickly brother, you shared the little you had with me. From today, you and your brother shall never be alone again. She paid Amina for work and filled their house with all kinds of food. She promised to help Sadiq go back to school. Amina cried, but this time not from sadness or hunger. It was a tear of joy. The moral lesson of this story is kindness given in pain is the purest kindness. Like when you have nothing and you share the little or nothing you have with someone else you think you are better than, is the purest kindness ever. And sharing does not make you poorer, it makes you richer. Love and sacrifice always find their way back. Every good thing you do today to somebody will definitely come back to you in one way or the other. So always show kindness to people wherever you go. Thank you very much for watching. If you like the story, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more interesting African stories like this. Press the notification bell so you get notified each time we release a sweet and interesting story like this. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.